Big breath. Hold it for a bit. Let it go. Relax even more. Another breath. Big breath. Let it go slowly. One more. You need to be settled, really calm, relax. We are ready to begin. We are so pleased you are here. And today you will understand why we say that all the time. It doesn't matter when you show up or when you might hear us, when you might watch this, because it will still be the same. Nothing is happening accidentally. You are not here accidentally. Nothing occurring in your world is happening accidentally. And we went out of our way today to really show you, because your world needs you now. Your world needs you to step up and be who you're meant to be. You see that we had on the screen excuses. Now, we gave you that in 2012, and we know many of you have trouble, you have difficulty believing that that could have occurred, that something could have been given to you that would give you the ability to do all that you wanted in your life, to become successful, happy, and move through this particular transition, this period in your life, which we have called the restructuring. It would help you move through that. We told you that, but it was difficult for you, challenging for you to believe, because Roger couldn't believe it. And so we had to do more. And this is why we did this, because we're doing it for you. You are in the world now because you were meant to evolve and create something really wonderful during this period. Now, you may not believe that, but we're telling you that's exactly it. And it is this time. It's not some other time in your life. It is now, because this is the time where your world needed you. See, because if you were to actualize who you were, then things would change. You would start to create the new world that we told you about. We've been giving you this information for more than a year. We told you that the world that you want to see is not guaranteed. And the reason for that is because you came to complete it. That's why you're here. Your essence is what is going to help manifest the new world. But that doesn't happen unless you move. And Roger has not moved for so long because he needed to be the example for you to be here now. All of this was timed. All of this was perfect. And we can take you back and show you. Now we're going to explain why our program worked that none of you could understand. We have told you forever that Roger has this ancient memory, even though he denied it, he pushed it away. You heard us say that he had this memory that went back to Egypt, and it explains his entire life. And he never knew this. So the other night we thought we better break the suspense here. We better open this up because some of you aren't moving, you don't understand what is happening, what's occurring, and the opportunity that you have. This is not about fear. We're telling you, you have an opportunity now. The energies of the world are behind you, they're pushing you forth. That's why we called one of our messages, Forging Ahead Together. That's what you're meant to do during this period. And so we revealed to Roger over a period of time our work. He never knew any of this. He didn't understand where this came from. He didn't understand why he was doing it. None of you do. When you come into the world, you're given a blueprint. You're given something that you're meant to do. You have a mission, each of you. And we've said it's your gift. We're not kidding about that. It's each of you, you have this gift. Now, the reason that we kept saying it is because Roger goes back to ancient understanding of your world. We just had to show him, because it did make sense. First of all, we had him find a paper that stopped him in his tracks, something we gave him many, many years ago. And we said, nothing you can see is real. And that's challenging for all of you. Nothing you can see is real. You're creating it. So what you are seeing is what you've already created. That's why you're in the world now, to shift what you have created collectively. That's what we're talking about, each of you collectively. But you decided to be in the world now because your evolutionary journey would be beneficial for this time in your world if you were to actualize who you were. And that's what we're talking about now. So the other day, Roger's sitting down and he's writing a paper to give to all of you to kind of, he thought, explain his journey, how he received this information. He still didn't know at this point, but we let him have that folly. We do this all the time. And so as he's writing this, he's saying, yes, in 1988, I was sitting down and I wanted to meditate and I wanted to do automatic writing. And then something started to come through. Now, we must tell you, and he knows that he said it before, that he did this only because he needed to. He was in a really difficult, challenging time in his life, and he was making a change. And every change he's made, he's gone through this kind of thing. And so as he's sitting there, all of a sudden, we started coming through. And we're going to tell you exactly how it happened. It took 3 days before he had information come through. He heard about automatic writing and he thought, maybe I'll try that because I need some help and let's see what happens. And he sat there and then all of a sudden we started speaking. We started coming through to him. He heard us very clearly. And then he said, oh, he got a little afraid. He goes, who's speaking to me? That's what he did. And we said, well, we're just another part of you. We're your higher self, if you want to think of it that way. But if that makes you uncomfortable, which obviously it does, so you can call us whatever you want. And so he said, Wilhelm. He had no clue as to why he said that name. Why would he didn't speak German. He'd never used that word. And then he never questioned it. He went for years. He just kept using it because it was a cover for him at first. Because see, now if he could write this stuff, because he didn't want to be judged. If he could write this and use the Wilhelm name, maybe no one would think it was him. This is exactly what he did. And he didn't want any of you to see it. He hid it away for years. That's what we said in 2009. You were reborn because more of them started to come out at that time. But he had so many more before that no one has ever seen. And so that was where the one that we had him find. Nothing that you can see is real. He goes, what is this about? And then he started questioning, why does our work, because this happens all the time, and many of you have experienced this, you'll read our words and you have to think about it for a bit, and you think, and then the awareness comes, and he's had to do that. He does it all the time. And when we had him put together the program last year in December, he had to do that again, and he was shocked. He goes, how come I couldn't understand this? Why didn't I know then? It is the same for each of you. You have been given these wonderful, magnificent lives that you're meant to live, and all you have to do is just keep moving forward. You just have to keep stepping forward to find it. And you have the example because it's Roger. It's been his entire life. That's why we keep talking about he's 71 years old. And you don't have to take that long because you each come into the world to bring something that causes your world to evolve. And you have access to it. We told you in January 1st of 2012, we told you each have infinite intelligence. That means that everything, you have access to all the information that's ever existed in the world, all of you. Now you're going to bring in different strains of that information depending on what your particular role is, what you wanted to do, and also the particular evolutionary journey that you are on this time in this lifetime, and what things you wanted to correct, to change, to move through, all of those things. That's what you're doing. But you knew that this particular time in your world, because it's so uncomfortable, would be the best time for you. That's what happened. So then we said, we have to tell him what's going on. This is fun. This is what's happening for each of you. And you're going to have surprising things coming up. We know that you've had this over the last few years or so, things that you can't explain. None of you can explain what's happening in your world, and you wonder why Roger can, and he can. He's seen it very clearly. And that's the part he's been struggling with. Because he sees it clearly and he says, these people are not going to believe me. They're going to think I'm really crazy because he didn't have the validity that you each are seeking. And so we gave it to him. We said everything that we've given you has gone back to the Hermetic principles, the Hermetic philosophy. We said we gave you a philosophy. It's called Your Life Operating Instruction. And he's never studied that. We've done this his entire life. We told you about his ADHD, and some of you have these ideas about your different disabilities, that they cause you problems and all of that. No, they don't. They're things that you were given that you're meant to work through and use them for the betterment of your world. And so we didn't let him discover, and this is true, we've done this with him. We didn't let him discover he had the ADHD until he was 70, because if he had, he would have thought he would have made everything up. He would have thought that he studied all of this, you see, and then the validity of what we wanted him to bring forth would have been lost. So that's why he had it. There is a reason for everything. That's why we said nothing is accidental. Nothing is occurring. Not any of you being here, hearing us, meeting him. None of it's been accidental. It's on your, it's your path. It's your evolutionary journey. So then we said, okay, let's give you a little more proof. So we had him hear some things. He got really nervous. Then the other night, we'll start here. After he sat and said, I don't know how I came up with the name Wilhelm, and many of you have denial too, because you have things that you've heard, that you felt about yourselves, but you've put them away. You've denied them. You didn't believe you could do them. You thought it was someone else. Somebody else can do that. I'm just this person, doesn't have that ability, and that is not true. We even gave you that in our your life operating instructions. We gave it to you twice. We gave you your story, meaning that each of you come to the world with a fabulous, valuable story that you're meant to tell. And it would cause, and if you're willing to do it, it would cause you to be so happy, have everything that you want, and work through all of your trauma. Because that's what you do. When you come into the world, you come in to move through old stuff. We've said it over and over again, restrictions and limitations, and they're endemic to you. And they're perfect. That's the other thing that none of you understand, because we've changed it. We put on our site, you're perfect. That's what we want you to understand. That's all. That is what we see. We can't see anything else. We see your perfection because we know how each person is needed in the world. It's just that you have not accepted that because you keep judging yourself, just as Roger did for years. Except the difference is he's worked through it all. And he's worked through it all because of what he's gotten through us. But see, he didn't even know what that was. And it explains everything, explains his entire life. So when we started showing him things, because he's running from things forever, some of you know, we've talked about his dream from 2005, where he was meant to be a spiritual leader, and he stepped up and went to the front, and then he went back and he says, wait a minute, I don't think it's supposed to be me. And why did I volunteer? You all did. You volunteered for these roles that you're doing right now in your life. You each did. And if you're judging what you're seeing in the world, you're not understanding why you're here, because you're here to offer your light and to evolve and to give that to the world and shift things, shift the trajectory. And that is what happens. And we know that it's challenging for you to believe this. So again, we kept going on to give you more and more proof. And we started days ago because we knew this was coming. He didn't even know why we said to do it on this day. Now, see, even when you see the message from 2012, excuses, we did that because you've all been using them. He's been using them so much. So we had to take away the excuse. He wanted to know the validity of what we have given you. Why is it changing lives? Well, it's ancient. Everything we have given has a basis in the Hermetic principles, except we've changed some things. And some of the things have been different because you're each meant to evolve. That is the basis for all of your religions, all of your thoughts and all of that, if you know that, because it goes back so far. This is why we kept referring to Egypt and getting Roger to accept this. He's known something, but he didn't want to bring this because this felt too big. Even his Akashic records reading told him this feels big. And he's sitting there the other night and he's saying, wait a minute, I have something that could shift the world if enough people did it. Yes. Months ago, many of you, some of you, if you've been here, you might have remembered this. He passed over it though, but we had him stumble upon the Kabbalion. And all any of you must need do is read the introduction of that work. Now, it's a further development of the Hermetic principles in the philosophy. So but it is one that is put together quite well, and you would understand it. That's what we have given you in your life operating instructions, because it's a new interpretation. There's certain phrases that we do not use and we've never used, because we are not about separation. We're about all of you coming together. Roger's life has always been about that, and he's just putting together. We had him go back and see all the different places where this worked. Let's go back, because this will help you. Many of you will understand why we have you go back through your timelines of your lives, because you've been judging them and you don't understand the clues that have been there, the gifts that you have been given that are all in your timeline, your individual timelines. There's no one who has your timeline. We gave you that as well. No one who has your story, no one who has your gifts. And the more of you who decide that you're going to give them, then the world starts to change. That's how this works. So then we thought, okay, he's still not getting this yet. So let's do some more, because we want all of you to understand. And this has been going on forever, by the way. I want to tell you, months ago, years ago. Years ago, we had Roger take a personality test. His family was doing all of that. We've mentioned this before, but he hadn't done it in years. We're doing this because we need each of you to suspend your disbelief, because that's the only thing that goes on. It's the only problem that humans have, is your belief in what is existing. And so you can't get out of that. And you're in a period where that has to occur. You have to let go of it. So as we're going back, we want to go back to this. We want to go back to the, when we had him the other night, we gave him this, he wrote this about not understanding where the name Wilhelm came from. That's where we began. So let's go there. So we said, okay, please go and find Goethe. See, because that's what happened a few years ago. He looked and he picked up his phone and he saw that personality test, which he had not taken at that time, and he could not figure out why there was a result on his phone of the advocate. And then he tried to put that away too. He does this a lot. It's amusing for us to watch this. He tries to run from it. And we told him, we can give you all the messages. We said, you're never going to get out of this alive. We're saying that to each of you, because that's what goes on. You think, oh, I want this to end. No, you wanted this to be here now so that you could become great, so that you could break through and live the life that you wanted and be prosperous, happy, successful, fall in love. That's why you're here, and that's why you're hearing us, because we have the works that could have you do all of that. But we had to show him why. He didn't understand it. This is why he freaked out the first time people took the program, and he goes, why is that happening? He didn't know. None of you know. We want you to understand that. None of you know, but we are telling you, you have the potential for greatness within you. There's no separate, it's every single person. And we need more of you to understand that, because that's what's going to shift the world, and that's what's going to end your wars. You've never understood that. And that's why we were telling you. And we were so anxious. And if you remember a year ago, when we came in, we had one of our sessions where Roger said, there's too much energy coming through. We were just trying to motivate you. We were just trying to get you to move. That's all. Nothing's going to happen. You're going to be fine. But we just wanted you to move, because it's about you. It's about your life. You wanted to be happy. You wanted to be successful. You wanted to have all of these nice things. And the only way you're going to do that is when you finally start accepting what you were given, because what you were given is a gift. We've said it so many times. And now we have proof of it. We do. So as we had him see this, we had him look at Goethe. Now, the story, if you don't know, when Roger lived in Chicago, which is where he's from, he lived there and then he moved to New York. When he was leaving Chicago to go to New York, he lived on the last place he lived was on the street of Goethe. He didn't know what that name meant. He'd never heard of the person. There are many things that we will talk about that Roger has no memory of. He's never studied some of these things. And people look at him like he's a little nuts, because they say, why don't you know this? They are surprised that he hasn't studied some of these things, but we didn't want him to. He had something to bring forth to the world. And if he had studied it and looked at everyone else, he would not have done that. Now, that's not the same for each of you. He had something specific that was in his path that he needed to do and to help the world. And he knows that because he knows that helping you own who you are helps the world. That's his mission. And he just shied away from it. But now we worked him over. We said, you're never going to deny this again, ever. And so he said, you never looked up the name Goethe. But when he looked at the phone, he looked a few years ago and he says, why is this personality test there with the advocate? And he read it and goes, I don't want to be that person. That's too much. That's too much responsibility. I can't do that. I don't know that. And then he saw a quote from Goethe there. And it was telling him exactly who he was, right there. He still pushed it away a little bit, didn't think about it. We said this was years ago. But that was purposeful as well, because you are each given clues in your lives. We've told you Roger's had many of them before, but he would pass by some of them because he needed to work through his old issues, just like you each do. We call them issues because they're just human things that you guys make up, but they're not really that. It's just your learning. It's just your experience. That's all. But humans will make things bad. You will see the reason that we don't use good or bad and all those things. Roger never knew, but if you go back to looking at the Hermetic principles, it's all in there. See, because back then, we didn't have the judgments that you have. We didn't use them. It was about collaboration. It was about coming together in a different way. So it was much more pure. And since that time, your religions have come in and basically bastardized everything all over the place. And then you create divisions. And that's why you have a war now. And you've had many of them, but it coalesces into this. So there was a big shift that needed to occur, a rebalancing of sorts. So as Roger started studying all of this, and then he got really, how can we say this? We've said it in many writings that, self-discovery can be frightening at times or uncomfortable or surprising or all that, because each of you are going to have it, because you're always holding more than you ever know. But you also have free will, you see. You're given free will, and so you don't have to act on it. But you have all the potential. It's just you making a choice not to. Now, the choice to not access your potential is not a bad thing. We want you to understand that. There are particular times in your timeline where it is beneficial for you to move through that restriction, and only you can know when that is, and you will know it because you'll feel it in many different ways. And we've given you much about that. However, as he started to look at this, and then he went, and then after he saw this, he still didn't go further. He does this a lot because he knows that if he looks at certain things, if he finds certain things, he hides them away, we bring them back. But if he looks at certain things, then he has to accept this. Oh, you mean I'm supposed to do this? You know how each of you do that? You see something, you put it out there, you think, oh, should I do this? Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. The only limitations that exist in your lives are in your thinking. That's all that it is. That's all that it is. And if you understand how we've always talked about the mind, and when you look at the Hermetic philosophy, you'll see that's what's there. He never knew this. We had him talk to his former, we want to show you the absurdity of some of the things that go on, but we keep things away from him. We had him talk to his former roommate today. And 4 years they were together. And he says, Roger asked him, have you heard of this? Do you know about this? He goes, oh, sure. Yeah, I've studied that. I know about all the principles. Never came up while they were together because we didn't want that to happen, because again, Roger would have thought he copied something, or as many of you used, he was an imposter. No, he was given something that would be something that would help your world if he was able to believe it and give it to everyone. And we had to get to that place first. So as we started showing this, and then he looked at, we took him through Goethe's life, which we had done before. And he's like, wow, the similarities here and all of this, he didn't know this. And then we said, we only do this in stages, by the way. He goes so far, and then he'll look again. Then we say, okay, now go back and look. And then he saw Wilhelm Meister's apprenticeship. novels that were about a person on self-actualization, on a journey of self-actualization. And Roger thought he made it up. No, it was part of his memory. It's an ancient memory. He couldn't have had it in this consciousness in this lifetime, but it's part of his DNA. That's why it was there. And then he started to study a little bit further. And then he saw all the people that we have mentioned to you before that we've included in our work, because what happens is you come into the world and you access as many of those great ones who have come before with their information and their wisdom, and then you inject it into yourself, you use it, that's why they left it, and then you create something new. And that's what we gave him. That's how it works. But he couldn't understand that. And so then he started seeing what happened in those particular principles back there. And then he saw, wow, they brought together the Christians and the Jews. Roger thought, oh, I did that, didn't I? I lived in two neighborhoods where that was happening. And he's always brought people together. That's just what he does. He didn't understand why. All of this was there. And as we kept taking him through this, it was shocking to him, but we needed to get him to a place of understanding, because you each need that. You each need to accept where you are and where your world is, because you're here now to make a difference. And the way that you make a difference, as we've said, is to take care of you, is to start loving yourself. It's just let go of the judgment, is to let go of the doubt, the fear. We gave you this wonderful being here as an example, and we use his entire life to bring him here now so that you could understand that. Because otherwise you get a little bit too afraid of what might happen, and then your energy is creating something different. Now he has had trouble with this, and we did something else too yesterday. We had him go to a meeting. See, nothing's accidental. Nothing. We had him go to a meeting. And in the meeting, they had a neuroscientist there. See, this has always been the trouble for Roger, because he couldn't explain how he was receiving things. How does that happen? Well, the neuroscientist explained it. He was so excited, Roger he was like a little too enthusiastic, we should say, because he felt finally this validation. Now, the guy's Dr. Larry Farwell, he was explaining, he and his dad, they had done research, he said, for over 30 years of how things are transferred. And then they wrote this book, The Science of Creating Miracles. Now, we've told you that Roger came in, we said that we had revealed to him, his was about marrying science, spirituality, and human potential and development. Now, how perfect could that be? And this person is sitting there and explaining to him. Then we made it even better. See, at the end, the doctor said, I don't know how I came to this, but I had a near-death experience. When I was 13 years old, I almost drowned. Wow. Then we said, see, Roger almost drowned when he was 12. Then we made it better, though. So we don't want you to miss it, because many of you think everything is happening accidentally and nothing is doing that. And so then the person who organized this, Roger told his story. He sent an email later, a message to the group, thanking them, because it was so life-changing for him, because it gave him the validation we wanted him to have. This is based in science. That's why it works. And so then the other person writes back, they were so thrilled as well. Wow, I almost drowned several times. How could we all be together? Yeah, you'll find that. Many of you will start finding those that you are meant to meet in this role, in this lifetime, that are going to give you support, connection, and confirmation. It's more about the confirmation, so that you can believe in yourself, so that you can start to move and open up to what you were meant to be. Roger's entire life has been moving through all of these difficulties. He could not have brought this through unless he did that. But see, that's what the works do. That's what the philosophy does. And we just had to explain so much more. If you have been with us, Roger's always had difficulty, which he could never explain until now. He didn't, when the certain holidays would come around, religious holidays, and you would elevate certain beings, which is wonderful, except then in that elevation, you excluded the others. Roger sees all religions, all races, all people, all that as necessary, you see. because they are. When you understand how your world is created, you will understand that as well. And so wonderful, Dr. Larry, they put out a book about creating the science of creating miracles. And it is using neuroscience and all the other elements and science and understanding it and spirituality, because it all works together. And then there's an opening, a forward by Deepak Chopra, who said what we said. We have evolved into a new place. Things are going to be different in the way that we're understanding creation is different. The way you understand how your world was created is evolving, because you don't have all of the information. Roger would always get upset with certain things, and he couldn't understand it. And we told him, it's because you have a memory of before all this stuff existed. And it's driven him crazy his entire life, because he couldn't figure out why he kept acting this way. He's seen wars, he's seen all of those things. He has a memory of it. He doesn't have that memory. Another thing we want to talk about, we want to speak about this because it came up yesterday. There are many people who do similar work as Roger is now having us come through. And we've said, and many of you listen to them and you think, and they talk about being connected to these beings and extraterrestrials and all these different things. And then you might think, and you even hear them speaking differently too. And so then you think that you don't have access to other information because you can't do all that kind of stuff. That's not true. This is why he wouldn't allow us to come through unless he could speak in this way that was to you, so you could understand. You could be this as well, because he has to be the example. We gave him that too. He found that message. He's hidden some of these away. But you each understand, you start to uncover the things that you have put away a long time ago, because now is the time you're supposed to be here. Even this timeline in your world is not accidental. It's been coming for an incredibly long time. You're breaking down old civilizations, and you have systemic belief systems that have carried within your races and within your countries as well. And Russia is a great example of that, because the old dynasties of that empire they don't want to let go, and they're going to have to. This is why we said the world, everything's going to change, and it's going to be different than what any of you believe, but you'll just, depending on what you do. Let's explain this. Roger can sit in one place and he can feel the past, he can feel what's happening, and if we act in this way, he can feel what the future is. And so this is why it pushes him to do more to create the future that he wants to see. You energetically come into the world and you add your energies to create something. It's all of you. You came in to create, to offer light. We've given Roger so many messages before he would actually let you see them that said, you came to be love. We said that because he censors us at times, because he wasn't willing to accept certain things, because he had the fear of judgment. What are people going to think if I say these things, even though he's hearing it very clearly? This has gone on for years. He's better now because we had to move him through it, because now he's got some validity. He goes, okay, I guess I am getting this ancient wisdom. And I guess I am meant to give it to others, because he says, I want people to come out feeling like I do. See, he can understand, he couldn't explain it, and he couldn't really relate it to you, because it's a feeling that you come to when you self-actualize, that you see everything differently. You see your past differently. You see the stuff that you went through is no longer painful. You find the purpose of it. You know how valuable it was, and then you decide to give it to others. And if you do that enough, you can have all the riches and wealth that you want. And he's known this, but he would never have done this until he had the proof that we just gave him this week. And that's why things are going to change, because he's allowed himself to be like you. He's allowed himself to not know his worth. It goes on all the time. When you move through your lives and you create certain things, you've accomplished things, you put it inside, and then you forget about it. And then all of a sudden you end up at a place in your life and you go, what's happened? Why don't I have anything? That's why we created the program in the way we did, because we want you to correct that. You have the ability, if you're willing to take the time, because this is what he did. it wasn't overnight. This is the other thing too. We were telling him, we think we do not want you to use 4 weeks to your best life because people get the wrong idea. We gave you your life operating instructions. It's a process. You don't get it in a few weeks, because so many of you are doing all these courses and taking these programs, and they're going to make you the superstar overnight. And that does not work. You have not taken into consideration your individual paths. You have not taken into consideration what you have come to know as humans about science and neuroscience and how your mind and brains work. You haven't taken that in. We keep showing up and giving him so many things. This is so much fun. We have enough. We've given him enough for several books and courses that he can go up and take now. And we told him, we reminded him this morning, one that was so long ago. Your thinking is not your thought. Thinking and thought are different. And some of you will get that. Because see, sometimes you're thinking, you're doing it with your own mind and your own experiences and what you have known, but thought is something you sit and listen for. That's why your meditation is so important. That's why being quiet and getting out of your way. You're always having to change the limitation in your brain. This is why the Hermetic principles said mind is all. This is what we've given you. And but you just have to use it. And then you have to, it's a process. You are in the world to perform a major accomplishment, create a new world. And so it's heavy. And that's why you each would have felt the pressure, the fear, the uncertainty, all of those things, because you do not have the memory that he would, but that's okay. You're developing it now. You're here to actualize what you have. Roger knows that what he is here to do is help more people do that, because he couldn't. You each have that. You teach what you need to learn. You've heard that before. That's what happens. And he had to get through this disbelief. And it was challenging. This entire week was we kept revealing things, because we wanted you each to understand that you're not an accident. Your life has not been accidental. It just takes you time to figure out the puzzle pieces, because you've all been given them. You've been given this blueprint. That was so funny too in the group when the doctor would say, pick up Dr. Larry would say certain things. Roger said, "Oh yeah, we gave you that." Yeah, all of it. He couldn't understand why he was receiving information and channeling things that seemed scientific when he never studied science. You see, each of you have certain things about that within you. You each come in to offer something new, except sometimes you will judge it. Now it's confusing, because you have your life that you're supposed to be moving through, your evolutionary journey, which is given to you to move through stuff so that you could live the kind of life that you wanted. But then you have to deal with the evolutionary journey of your world. And that is why you're here. And we will tell you the reason that you chose this time to be here is because if you actualize, you also develop more courage. And that's what you need. That's what's needed now. You each need, we gave you that message a little bit ago, a few days ago. You needed, you wanted more courage, we said. You wanted more. That's why you're here. And so the courage comes when you decide, I'm going to take the next step. I'm going to get out of the way. I'm going to start to believe in myself. And it's a process. You build momentum in your belief. It doesn't happen overnight. That's why we want people to stay in our work for quite a while, because you just turn out to be completely different people. And then we know that in this future world that we're going to see, it's going to be so much more wonderful. It's going to be the one that you want. But it's about this belief that each of you have been lacking, and you've been judging yourselves. The thing that you've judged yourselves about the most are your problems, your failures, your things that you did, all of that stuff. You have made them wrong, and they were not that. They were experiences. Every experience that you have is for your learning. It's for your evolvement. It's for you to become more. You're not being punished. We've given you so many messages like that. You're never being punished for anything. You're here to evolve and offer your essence to the world. And the only choice sometimes that you make is that you're not going to do that, that you're not going to be the person that you could be because you don't believe it. That's all. And it's not bad. You have to understand you didn't know this before, but now you have tools. You have things to change that. You only have to decide that you're going to do it. You only have to decide that you're going to take the time and effort to work through whatever's going on. Now, you wonder, how did Roger get to this place where he developed this staying with it? As we said, he started in 1988. He was afraid, so he needed something. So we became like this wonderful place for him to find sanctuary, salvation. And he would do it every day. And he would even get upset if he couldn't do it. And he still wasn't telling people. That went on for a long time. A few people, but not many. Because he always wanted to know, wait a minute, is this me? Am I supposed to do this? We said yes. And so it's still going to be, it's always with him, a constant decision, a continual decision. Am I going to step into the next place? Am I going to get out of my way? Am I going to stop judging myself? And so we had him do several things over the last several weeks to get it more clear for being here. We had him send out things that would cause him to be embarrassed, that would cause him to feel uncomfortable. We've given you a message about that as well, because that's what you're here to work through. Your fear of criticism has held you back. Your fear of judgment has held you back. And it's also the thing that has made your world it's crazy. That's what it's done. We see all beings as necessary. So your wars are confusing to us, and that's why we don't really stay there. However, they are necessary. Because you've been in human existence for civilizations and eons, at times you can't really understand. However, every civilization, it gets a little bit better because you're trying to get to oneness, you see. So this time you're splitting apart. And we want you to understand this because you're going to see it. You're seeing it already. And the splitting apart is not bad. It's just what's need to happen, because the only thing that remains is the love and the light, as we've said before. But in that process, you need destruction. And that's what's occurring. You're tearing it down. We gave you in 2012 about conflict. Conflict breeds unity, because we knew that that's what would be going on now. The timing was such. The 2012 was not accidental. It was a particular time in your world's history where things shifted. And some people were meant to receive things and bring it forth. And Roger was one of them. And as we've mentioned, Cryon was another. There are many others who have that. And then last night, just to make things even more fun, Roger was on TikTok. You know how you do these things. He was he doesn't like going there because sometimes he can stay there too long. And so, but he was watching. Then this one video came up, and this girl, what's happening? She's reshifted. But wait a minute, the Mayan calendar told us it was 2012. Did we have it wrong? And she was questioning it all. And Roger's watching all of this and thinking, no, you have it right. You have it right. Because she said, that was a period. She goes, does that mean we moved into a new world? She says, they thought that 2012 was what the world was going to end. And she's going, no, wait a minute. This is when it started. This is when you moved into a new place, a new world. We told you that. We said that's what was happening on December 21st, 2012. We gave you the message, wait. Because we knew that you needed time to pull together who you were going to be, and that if you did that efficiently, you would be in a position now to help move you forward, which helps your world. That's the order we want you to understand. You have to move yourself forward as you help your world. We're not saying you're going out and doing something. You're not going to Ukraine. You're not going to stop any wars. No, you're doing what is in front of you to do. That's why the science of creating miracles is so important, because now humans begin to understand the energetic nature of your being and of your world, and you have control over that. We've told you forever. We told you many, many months ago where the power was in your thoughts, because that's where the energy is. But you haven't really directed it all the time. Now, we're saying this again, we're using Roger as the example, and he's completely fine with this because he knows it's part of moving through his life. His life blockages had to be this for him. So he's completely okay with this. We've made him okay with it. And so he will go back and find things that we gave him decades ago that he's only understanding now. We gave him focused attention. Now, we did that subtly because we didn't want him to really pay attention to it, because he might have used it then, and we wanted him to use it now. The focused attention meant, which he couldn't understand because of his ADHD or what that thing, but we gave him that because we thought one day he'll figure it out. But the focused attention means you each have the ability, because you have all the power that ever existed, you each have the ability to decide that I'm going to do this thing, and I'm going to work on it in this methodical way, and I'm going to change my brain to do that, and that takes focus, and I'm going to do it every day, and that takes consistency, and that's why we created our program in the way that we did. Science. And then you just need a proof, and so that's why we brought in Dr. Larry Farwell for you. And the other thing we did, we had a message. If we can bring that message up on the screen. We sent a message through to Roger, and he knew it right then. He says, we want everyone here. It looked like it was coming to him. We said, no, this is for everyone. This is where you are. Nothing's accidental. You would not be seeing this. You wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be hearing it unless this was for you. And we just used Roger to bring it to you, just like we've used him to bring our work to all of you. No different. You stand at a magnificent place in your life if you decide to grab it. And we know it's distracting because of what you're seeing, and we will tell you you'll see more. You're going to see more things that you're not going to like. You're going to see more fighting. And we also told you that things that you had previously believed were going to be uncovered and looked quite different. And that's what's happening currently. It's happening right now. We told you several things that you couldn't believe. Roger couldn't accept it either. He thought, and sometimes he would even censor us he says, I can't put that out there. But we told you that, you're going to go through this change and that people will be fearful. And when you're in fear, you cause conflict and you hang on. And that's what was going on. And then we also said that you're going through this restructuring and the United States would lead the way, and no one understood what that meant. And now you're saying that the people who have brought the world together in a different way have been the United States. You're not completely there, but you're doing it. And if more of you add your energy there, it becomes more successful. But the world is in this split right now. And the split is between, and you've done this over centuries, you've done this forever. It is between whether you want to live in a world that's free and equal and a democracy, or one that's autocratic and run by dictators. And, we've told you, we said in the very beginning, when we first started giving our talks, we said, our mission, there's no hierarchy of souls. You make them up as you go along. You think that certain people have more power, but there are no hierarchies of souls. And the reason we said that, because that's the only thing that's real. You see, the only thing that's real is your soul, your energy. That's the only thing that exists. We wanted to prepare you for everything, because some of you didn't seem to know, but every message we gave you there, we said, your physical life experience. We thought that maybe that would get you to wake up. You don't live forever. So maybe you come into the world to do something at a particular time, and that time is now. You do live, but you're in a different form. You transition into, you don't die, which we said before. However, humans hold the idea, this fear of death. You went through it with your pandemic. That was why it was so terrible for you, and we understand that, but you wanted that because you wanted to also gain more courage, and you've done pretty well with that. Now, it was a struggle before. We stood there the other night with Roger, we just put all this information out, which was a little overwhelming for him, and we have more, but we can't give it all because there's still different layers, but you don't accept everything. And we've said in our writings, we say we give you some today, we'll give you a little bit more tomorrow, because that's how your minds work. You're still working with physical bodies, your entities, your spirits who come down and inhabit physical form so that you can have experiences, but you're limited by what you've come to believe that humans can do in physical form. So you must take that into consideration. But you have everything right now, regardless of what you're seeing. And each of you, this is the thing that we have been so, we've been yelling from the rooftops to try to get you all to see your importance, because we know, and Roger's felt this so much, that's why he's been so anxious. Then the other thing we did, we had him, because this is challenging. He still has his things. He thinks he's got to make it happen, but we said, no, not everyone is going to hear you. We put out a message about that. Not everyone is going to believe, not everyone is going to understand, because at any particular time in your civilization, there are only a few people who were given certain information to come forth and make a difference. And he has to understand that. But he just thinks, well, no, everybody should be understanding to this depth. And that's not true. That's just the way the universe has been structured, and it's okay. You each have an equal role, important role to play in the creation of your world. And so what we are attempting to do, and again, it's challenging because you have individual ancestral beliefs, systemic, that have been built onto you, and it's different for each of you because you've come from different races, different countries, and all of that, and your individual DNAs are made up of all of these different things, and so that's what you're figuring out. However, you are a sovereign being that you meant to come and offer the essence of everything that you are to your world, and that's what causes things to change. And you picked this time, as much as you think you didn't, you did. You picked this time because it was going to be this dramatic to cause you to evolve and become magnificent. And that's what you're going to do. We're going to keep talking about it because we know that hearing it and staying with it gets you closer to it. We're giving you the perfect example here. It took him forever, but we knew that there was a time because of the time in your world needs to, there are things that are happening that you need to step up more because it will change the energy of everything that is occurring. You're not going to see it tomorrow. You must understand that. But by 23, you're going to see things, your world's going to be quite different. But you're going to have to get through that. That's why we suggested that let's put you together. Let's do something where you're holding hands and developing yourselves. It's not about going out again. And some of you might do that, and that would be great. If you're motivated, if you feel moved to get involved in something else that's going to make a difference in some charitable work or some group you want to give, that's the energy is what's important. What you do does not matter. It's your energy. That's where the power is, you see. And and you have to know the difference of the quality of the energy. See, you have it, and you know it in your bodies. When you are depressed, when you're sad, that energy is so heavy. That's the 3D density that you came into the world to move beyond. And so but if you keep adding it there, you create a world with this collective unconsciousness of low energy. That's what happens. When you're up, when you're working on yourself, when you're loving yourself, when you're doing something different, you're creating higher energy and vibrations. No, you're not going to see the world change as a result of that tomorrow, but eventually you will, because it's already in play. It's already in play. And the way that this has been projected, this has been planned, so to speak. And so, but you fight until you get to the other side. This is just a shift that you're going through in your world, and you've done many of them before, but there's this period of struggle that you must move through, but it's easier when you do it together, and it's easier for you if you're working on why you're here, because you're each are here for something. And you have to stop making yourselves insignificant, because some of you have been doing that. You think, well, I'm not doing something that's important enough. That's the wrong thing. The most important thing that you could do is to take care of you, is to love yourself, and just to give yourself what you wanted. Just stop denying who you are. Stop denying your gifts. Stop thinking you're this inadequate, insignificant person, because you're not. That's why you're here. And there's so much more that we're going to continue. We want to do there's more that's coming, and we'll decide on the date later, but it's between but next week, sometime at the end of the week, we want to do another one, because this period you're moving through, you're going to see more things being revealed that could cause you to become your world, not so much you possibly, but your world's going to get a little upset, and you're seeing it already. And a lot of it's going to be political. A lot of it, you always use that. You've used it since the beginning of time, because you control one another. That's all that happens. We don't remember that because, again, we were at a place where we just wanted to bring in what was pure, what was real. And then we said, anything that you can see is not real. So that would be the dilemma that you each will kind of figure out. And then you have hypocrisy. We told you that was coming up. We said to you that you're going to have to look at your contradictions and your hypocrisy. Roger saw this morning, wonderful. He had on his news for a moment, and he saw something being revealed, and it's the hypocrisy of this party was coming out now. You're going to see more of it. But it's for you to look within and notice your hypocrisy and your contradictions, because you have them. See, because you'll do things and you'll say, yeah, I have all these things, but no, I'm terrible. I'm this, that, and the other. I'm told that I was given everything to create, but no, I don't have that. Your contradictions. You cannot create what you want if you keep telling yourself you can't. It's just simple. And if you tell yourself you can, you can. Everything is mind. But we want you to understand, we have you go through things because you have to reverse your old thinking, which is why you're here, which is why you exist in the world. Which you have any lifetime, you come in to become more than what you were before. And we wanted to say this. This is a very important period, this particular shift in your world, because your ancestors, even if you don't know them, because some of you don't have those that you know, but your ancestors are watching you, as we've told you before, to see what you're going to do, because they can see differently now. They want to see if you're going to step up and make them proud, leave them something that they could be proud of, work through, because you're here working through something. We've said this many a time. You're here working through something that they could not. And so you should be grateful. If you don't think you're doing it for yourself, think about you're doing it for them. Maybe that will cause you to become even more motivated. But we're saying, each of you in the world now, to manifest something wonderful and give it to the world. And we sent out something yesterday. Roger doesn't have it here, but it's something that he found that we gave him so long ago that it was for all of you, about you being the gift to the universe, because you are every single person. You only make different choices that cause your life and the world to be more complicated. There's one that we gave you, and we'll keep sending it out, where when you start to find your life challenging, it is only because you are refusing to access some part of you. And that's okay, because that's evolving. We want you to understand it. But if you don't know what's going on, you don't try to address it. You don't try to move through it or over it, because you can always do that. And we gave you all of that as well. There's always a way, except when you decide that there isn't. And we're talking about that in terms of your world and your life, because they're the same. And that's where we are. We think we've given you so much that you're going to need to absorb this for a while and think about. But what we want to do is find out where each of you are, what questions you might have, any clarification, anything that has come up for you would be incredibly helpful for us, because our purpose is to cause you, to allow you to understand how important you are being in the world now.
Okay, you all know how this works. I'm going to be sending out an invitation for you to come into the room as a panelist, and when you're here, you can turn your camera on, you can unmute, you can raise your hand, and ask any question or give any comment that you may have. Sending out the invitations now.
We're so pleased when you show up because it's helpful. What happens is this, and we want you to all to understand this, you're each moving through your limitations, and Roger's doing the same thing. So when he plans something and he knows people are going to show up, we then bring forth the information so he evolves much quicker, simply because of your calling, of your asking, just by you showing up. That's why it was been stressful for him, because we took him through so much, but we also knew it was important for this time in his life and in your world.
All right. Sally, welcome.
Hello, good morning. It's a beautiful day here. I just wanted to say that I'm finding it an exhilarating time, and I'm seeing so many people coming together, and I'm also part of helping to connect other people. So I just like to say this is an awesome time. So I just want to tell people, don't be scared, just go ahead.
Thank you so much. And we want to say it is an awesome time for you because you decided to pay attention, because we each have, everyone has times where they can choose to pay attention to those nudgings, because that's all they are at times, just nudgings, just glances or glimpses. And it takes you to become courageous enough to say, okay, let me go and see what happens. And that's what you did. And you are serving as an example, as we said. That's what you're all meant to do. And so we thank you so very, very much.
Yeah. And we're also bringing in other people. So last night we had a meeting and I managed to bring in someone else, and they have an incredible contribution to make. And so I've helped to bring them into the collective as well. So, and it would have happened eventually for him, but I helped it to happen faster. So
yes. Yes. Oh, you're giving us all the correct words. Thank you so much. We have said this before. Your world will eventually, we'll say this eventually, the world will eventually be okay. But when you act, it accelerates things because you're putting in a different kind of energy. And so, as Sally just said, yes, it would have happened eventually, but she helped it move faster. You see, that's what each of you are doing. And this is why we've been so excited and we wanted to bring you together so that you would understand, because we know the difference that it will make. Thank you so much.
And then what we did after this, what I brought him in and he's brought something in, and now all together we're going to build that into something much bigger. So it's a collective effort.
Yes. Wonderful, which is precisely this period precisely. So we're so thrilled.
All right, thank you so much, Sally. And Clarity, looks like you wanted to say something. Oh, you don't have sound. Yeah, I can see that you're not muted, but you don't have any sound. Okay, while Clarity's working on that, anybody else?
We have something to say, Clarity, and maybe she can type. Could that happen?
Okay, Clarity's working on it. Terry, go ahead.
I just want to say the people who step up and do something, they help the rest of us to move through our fear and move as well, because it makes it okay. So, yeah. I'm looking at you, Sal.
Thank you so much. That is, you have no idea how encouraging that is for Roger. We must tell you, and we've said it before, Roger's very introverted. He could sit in his room and write and do all that all day and not have any interaction with people. We're being completely honest. He would be okay with that. And he knows he can't, because he knows that he's meant to do something. So he gets out of his way. He has to get out of his fear and do that. It's still challenging because he has all these other folks telling him what he should be doing out there. And he goes, that's just challenge. I don't want to do that. And there's another part that we'll give him later, because others are meant to come. He's going to attract them in a different way now. But each of you, it is that fear of taking the next step. We've given you many messages about that as well. And we'll probably keep peppering it through.
Just want to check in with clarity real quick. Do you have sound?
Check 1, 2.
We can hear you.
Oh, good.
Yes. Go ahead.
I had to get a USB adapter for my stereo, so I'm still. Anyway, I got 2 rescue dogs, and the process of earning their trust has been such a insightful thing about my energy, because I had to be aware of how my body moved, and it's made me more graceful. And today they've trusted me enough to let me groom them, and there was a transformation, and it was like I've chiseled away all the growth, and now they're young, and I can see their eyes and their facial expressions, and it's like I have a family again. And it was, I didn't even get to, I took them sight unseen. I just knew they needed a home.
And there's several things with this. You made Roger saw you made some reference to dementia. And we want to speak about this because you each have this idea about your things that go on mentally. No, you're changing so much, and each are going to find different things that are happening. And you cannot, humans have made certain terms negative or problem or difficult. No. And we gave Roger this wonderful experience, and he had to learn through his mother going through having dementia. And we said, no, she's making a choice. She's making a choice to leave this consciousness because she wants to transition, and she wants it to be easier. And so we want you, many of you will move through this with some of your loved ones. We want you to understand that. So we thank you for bringing that up. However, we want to bring up something else, because the reason, and many of you will have that, animals have such highly developed spirits that they can feel so much. And when they feel it may take them a while because they still have their own trauma. They still have their own evolutionary journeys as well. And so but when they feel your authenticity, when they feel your loving heart, then it takes them a while, but then they get there. And that's exactly what you demonstrated. And then you had a transformation within that just by having that occur.
Yeah, it was almost as good as music.
Yes.
Thank you.
We love that so much. And we took Roger back to see some other things as well. And you're going to see more synchronicities, as you call them, but we saw that there were those back. Roger's always kind of judged himself on all these different things that he had done, especially with music and all of that. But that was part of it. He was meant to be this multidimensional being, and you all are, but you just don't express him in that way. He had to move through that. But then he saw, which gave him more validity, that these who came before had all of these diverse things that they were doing. And then the doctor yesterday, same thing. Same thing. You just each need confirmation. That's all. Because first of all, there's no other person, soul in the world who's you. No one. That is why you're important. You're unique. Your energy is unique. And again, if you look at any of the Hermetic principles, you'll see some of this, but probably the Kabbalion is a really an easy kind of condensed thing for you to see. We had Roger listen to the earliest works of Hermes, well, what was put together, and there was one story that he listened to last night, the entire thing. And the only thing that we had him change, this was a different time then, is that we don't use evil. And that was used. We don't use that because that is something that you each have used, humans have used to make other people wrong, and your division keeps keeps growing because everything is a momentum. And so we just want you to remember, especially you're going to need this as you're going through this, because you're seeing those right now that you're seeing as evil. And we want to point something out to you because we had Roger see it this morning. We want you to look the next time you see this. When you look at Putin, because that's the one that you're all seeing now as being evil, we want you to watch him and you will see his insecurity. We want you to watch because that's what you're each going to have to understand about so many others. When you think that they're evil, they're doing all these other things, and underneath that, it is a lack of development of the self, and it's this insecurity, which many of you carry. However, this is the time to change that.
Okay, Sally, back to you.
Okay, I have another comment. A lot of people are saying you're so brave, and I wanted to say that if people think you're brave, it means that you must have overcome fear.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not having fear. You still have to have caution, but if you decide not to be fearful, you don't have to be brave anymore. You're just doing what you're meant to do.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for saying that, because that's the end result. That is the result. But understand that many of you just have to you have to decide to take the walk. That's all. So yes, that is exactly it. Because we want to explain this. We're giving you understanding of what we have done with Roger and what's in our work. He feared everything from the time he was born. Everything. We've talked about this quite a bit. This is why we had him write the book on fear. You each have that, but because of his particular journey, his was it was much more impacted. And so it took a while to move through all of that, but good for you, because now he's done it and he can bring something to the world that can help other people do that. That's what you each are doing. And that's why we love that you're here.
Yes, clarity.
You'll love this. Before I went off to college, my grandmother, who was a very devout Christian and would teach somebody else about the Bible anytime, day or night, if they wanted to hear it. And before I went off to college, she said, now you be careful, because there's going to be a lot of people with a lot of ideas. They're going to try to put those in your head. And of course, her ideas were already implanted in my head. And I was just laughing because what we're doing, you and I are doing now, is understanding the deep ecumenism that the Spirit has been in every river of human devotion and development. And, they didn't have the inside scene. They told me that, it was just a few of us are going to get to heaven. And it's like, no, that's not how it works.
Now,
Yeah.
yes, thank you so much for that. You brought up so much. Now, it is true that not all, because you live different lifetimes, and not every person now is going to get this truth. And you'll see that. That's why we suggested reading just the introduction of the Kabbalion. It'll explain. Not every person will get that. But again, it's about your journey. And so your journey is about owning your truth, and that spreads, and others will pick it up when they're ready, if they're ready. So, but remember that, and we have to go over this so much with Roger because it's been a problem. His desire to help is really ingrained, and he's this empathetic person. He's quite sensitive, all that stuff. And so, but then he'll push sometimes more, trying to get someone to move, and that's not helpful because you want to move on your own initiative. You want to become self-actualized. So everything that we've given you that's why we keep him out of it a bit, is for you to self-actualize, because then it stays, then it's real. And then you come to this place, and this is what we want you to understand, where all of a sudden you're not fearing people. You're not criticizing yourself. You're feeling like you can stand up and go and do things. That's what happens. It's a process. But you all have it. You all have the ability. That's why we're so thrilled. And we want to say, you cannot judge yourself for anything that goes on from here, because you're hearing things, and anyone who hears this at whatever point, you're hearing things now that are giving you the ability to take the next step in your direction of your path of evolvement. That's what happens now. But do not judge yourself for when you fall back, or you can't do it, or you're tired that day, or something happens. It goes on. You're meant to have all this, and we've given you that as well. You have ups and downs. And they're okay, because you're processing through old stuff. Many times, we should say, you are processing through information and energies that you have no conscious awareness of where they came from. They've just been in you because you agreed to do this before you were born. So you have no conscious memory in this waking physical lifetime experience.
All right. Do we have any final questions or final comments? Terry, go ahead and round us out.
Okay. Here. I just want to say, I'm actually going to be singing in public again, but the journey of how it got to that is I just put it out there one day driving. I just feel this need to do something. And then I have a very good friend who decided she was going to do an ABBA party. And it's turned out to be bigger than Ben-Hur, but she said it's about creating memories. So I'll just be being a backing singer. But the commitment to do that has also changed a whole heap of other things. Like, we don't know the little steps that we take that change big things. So for me, it's actually standing up and saying, yes, I'm committing to rehearsals, and yes, everyone around me will be okay if I'm not there, because I'm doing this for me. And then, Rachel said it's about making memories. She said, if I knew how big it was going to be when it started, I wouldn't have started. But now that it is, a group of us are going to create memories that people remember for years. And that kind of, the point of it is the little steps become big, but go with it and trust it.
We must give you this, because we want you to understand what ancient wisdom you've just touched upon that you didn't know. One, we gave you a message in 2012 in your life operating instructions. We said movement. We said it doesn't matter. Movement is what's important. Doesn't matter what little movements, they turn into momentous changes over time. And then you can go and you can look at the principles, and you'll see about vibration and movement, again, based in these old ancient, as you would think of them. And we're going to talk about that, because some of you will throw away. There's a balance that you need to come to at this time in your world. Some of you try to throw away everything that came before. It's old stuff. That's the old way. No, there's wisdom in there. You build upon wisdom. You take the things that are wise and been proven and been shown to cause you to become more, and you use those. And then things that were restrictive, you let them go. That's what happens. So anyway, so we're so thrilled that you tapped into ancient understanding that you didn't know. Your higher self did that. I mean, just said yes. And the impetus to to take that little step is meaning that you are willing to get out of your restrictions. You're willing to break free. We've told you that Roger used to go to places, drive so far away to go and perform somewhere because he knew no one would know him. And so it was a little step, you see, to get out of his own way and get over his judgment. So thank you. And your higher self said, yes, you're ready to move to this other part of you. And we want to say to all of you, do not be concerned how quickly that happens. You're supposed to take incremental steps so that they become ingrained, so they become real. The reason that nothing changed or nothing worked for you in your lives before, because you didn't give yourself that opportunity to consciously know that you are programming something new, and then it becomes owned by you and operational. That's the other thing that we did last night to give Roger a little jolt as he was listening to this one. We did this on purpose. As he was listening to one recording from the older works, from the Hermetics philosophy, they kept using operational and operating. They said, but it's operational. That's what you're all figuring out, how to operate yourselves, because there is science, there are ways, there's ancient wisdom that tells you how to do that, and you have it available now, and you meant to use it to help this restructuring of your world, and so you could bring in this new life for yourself and the new world.
I just wanted to say the little incremental steps, you think they're not anything, but suddenly there'll be this massive shift and you're going, oh, where did that come from?
Yes. Yes.
And so just stay with the little incremental steps and be willing to take that massive step when the opportunity comes.
Yes. You're reminding us of what Roger heard yesterday with the doctor. He says, I think that Buddha, you have these things happen, and then all of a sudden you, oh, wow, I understand. And he said, I wonder if Buddha stood there one day and just said, wow, I'm awakened. Probably. Because that's what happens. We want to say, this is what we gave Roger. We've done it many times, but the other night was, we had to move him through this one because he stood there and he goes, what's happening? Because he heard it all, because we knew it was important and we wanted, we should say, he has the need. We wanted more of you to understand and to move with this information now, because it's going to be so beneficial for your life and so beneficial for your world. And that's what we care about.
And in the chat, Sally shares that starting gives us momentum. And once we start, we don't easily stop. It takes effort to start, but the moving once we start is far easier. And yeah, that reminds me of Newton's first law, bodies in motion tends to stay in motion. So thank you for that, Sally.
Thank you. Everything that you are saying, we have given Roger all of this. And thank you for bringing this up, because then he gets to remember. We had him watching Newton so long ago because we want him to understand. And we had him watch several other people, not because he was learning, because there was a part of him that was remembering, you see, because you each will remember. Years ago, all of his messages that we sent him, were said, you will remember. He didn't like that at all. None of you have seen those. We've seen very few of them, we should say, because we think we got a few through, because we knew it would help some of you. But we would tell him all the time, you will remember. I said, that doesn't make sense. And it does now, because now he is remembering, and so will all of you, because you have wonderful paths that you've been given, that you're here in the world now to actualize.
All right. And Terry, you will be the final say here.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, when one part of your life starts to move, it seems like a whole cascade of everything happens at the same time.
Yes.
Oh, which is scary, but also exhilarating.
Yes. And we've We've prepared you for that. And we're going to keep moving these things along. We're going to review, we're going to recycle some of the messages that we gave you, because we wanted you to understand as you move. We said self-discovery can be frightening. Or then we gave you another one that said the shock of self-discovery or something, because you literally move into a new place in your beingness of how you see yourself in a new way. And you have to adjust to that. You have to like, oh, wow. And then that's the acceptance. Again, this is why we created things to give you enough time to embody the information and new awareness. It's just new awareness that you're accepting. That's all, because you always have it, but you have to allow your consciousness to expand enough so that you can bring it in and make it real so that it is practical within your lives. And we want you to understand that. We led Rogers to something else too, because it was throughout this in the nothing's accidental, as we said, the cover of the book. We don't know if you saw that, if that was up, we're not sure. But anyway, we had him see this because, again, nothing is accidental. The date that was released, that's his birthday, November 2nd. That was on that thing. We just wanted him to see, because none of you're intersecting at particular times, and then you start to notice. That's all. And all of you have this, and it's going to come up more because you're moving your world. This is a quick acceleration, but you're moving into a completely new way of being, and it's going to be wonderful as you keep stepping into your rightful place. That's really what it is.
And we are complete.
We want to reiterate, there'll be a few things happening in your world that will be distressing, and you'll see them and you'll react because you're loving, caring, empathetic people, and you'll react. However, remember that all it's doing is causing you to remember and to motivate you, in a sense, to remember why you are here. Because you are here to change it all. And the way that you change it all is by deciding to love yourselves and get on with doing what you were meant to do, because you each have wonderful contributions to leave this world. We love you so much, and thank you so much for being here. Hi. Okay. Wow. That'll be fun. I'll have to hear that one. I don't know what's going on. It's that was cool. And I just want to say, because I'm still processing, and we'll do more. I'll put up what we're going to do next week, because it was a little shocking for me, everything that's come through, and I have to embody it, and I will put something together and let everyone know. But we're going to do something next week, because there's another important movement that's in the world that's going to be good for us to do something. So great. All right, you guys, thank you so much. How long did we go? Oh, no. Oh, hour and a half. Okay, that's about right. Yeah, that's just what I said, didn't I? I think I said. Okay, thank you guys. I will see you soon. I'll leave Stan at that. Okay.